His family came out here when he was 14 from Brooklyn, and he's punched every ticket in American journalism: presidential campaigns, major court trials, international reporting, the Olympics, Hollywood, White House. And the list of celebrities that he's interviewed is over 700. He's introduced President Harry Truman at Royce Hall in 1960. His first job out of Westwood was at the LA Examiner, where he covered the 1960 Democratic Convention. He covered the civil rights movement for the San Francisco Examiner. He joined Newsweek after graduating from Harvard Law School, cum laude in 1966, and rose to become the bureau chief in London, and where he covered the troubles in Ireland and managed to survive an IRA bombing. He did actually practice law, like me and Zio, but he came to his senses and found his journalism bug again. And he joined Newsday in Long Island as an entertainment reporter in Manhattan and in Los Angeles. He then transferred to Washington for Newsday and eventually became their White House sole reporter. He covered President George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, and flew on Air Force One to Europe, Asia, and South America. Was it both Air Force Ones? The 747 and the 707?
We had, yes.
You did both, okay. Wow. In all, he's attended 12 national conventions, interviewed 7 presidents, and covered presidential campaigns from Robert Kennedy in '68 to John Kerry in 2004. And in music and movies, Alfred Hitchcock, John Wayne, Judy Garland, Rita Hayworth. Young folks can Google that right now. Groucho Marx, Google that one. Marlon Brando, Jane Fonda, introduced Steven Spielberg, George Lucas to his readership. He went to Elton John's legendary concert at the Troubadour. He covered the Michael Jackson molestation trial and his death. He retired in 2007, and since then has enjoyed, being a documentarian and also running. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you the 2021 Distinguished Alumnus of the Year, Martin Kasindorf.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. Daily Bruin staffers, past and present, friends here in the Grand Salon of Kirkhoff Hall. As Yogi Berra once said, I'd like to thank everyone who made this day necessary. And I'd especially like to thank Lawrence, not only for his kind introduction, but for tirelessly serving as the dynamo of our Daily Bruin Alumni Network. I'm not really sure I deserve the garland bestowed upon me today. I mean, as a Daily Bruin alum for 61 years, I know I met the minimum qualifications for the award, but I thought I'd have just been grandfathered in, almost literally. But this moving honor naturally prompts reflection on a 44-year career in newspapers and magazines, Johann Gutenberg-style print journalism, now facing historic challenges, as Lawrence mentioned, pressure from authoritarian regimes all around the world, and digital pressure right here on campus. Just look around at the state of print and cringe. I used to write occasionally for the New York Times Sunday magazine, for example, once rich with fashion house ads and known as the Girdle Gazette. It's now as skinny as Nicole Kidman. The LA Times used to be so fat that one Sunday edition tossed at a subscriber's lawn reportedly killed a dog. I spent 20 years at Newsweek in a golden age for the news magazines, the 60s to the 80s, and now I'm not quite sure that Newsweek is even still in print. Actually, it is, kind of, I hear. Now, Newsweek is not what it was, but like the mutating Daily Bruin, the magazine has a strong and growing alumni network. Just last weekend, I was at a reunion where I chatted with a former Newsweek LA Bureau colleague, David Friendly, who was a movie producer, and he happens to be the son of Fred Friendly, who was the great Edward R. Murrow's CBS News producer. Well, David told me that he recently talked with Kevin Merida, the incoming editor of the Los Angeles Times. And according to Friendly, Merida predicted, the incoming editor of the Los Angeles Times predicted a week or so ago that 3 years from now there will be no print edition of the Los Angeles Times. Now, there's a scoop. Now, as a lawyer, I can tell you that's inadmissible hearsay in court, but it may happen, it may not happen. Take it for what it is. And if there is to be no hard copy LA Times, what are the prospects for the paper and ink UCLA Daily Bruin? Well, I'm here today to tell you. Don't ask me. I hail from old times when the Bruin was a tabloid. In the wake of the McCarthy scares, the editor-in-chief had to be elected campus-wide like the student body president, a nervous administration relying on the Greek houses that did most of the voting to deny the job to anyone considered too liberal. We put the paper to bed in a print shop down on Pico with linotype machines. So I am hardly equipped to forecast how the uneasy print and online mix is going to work out around here. But I would mourn the end of the classic Bruin, because I enjoyed a career in print that progressed from the newspaper's bright third-floor offices, yes, we had windows, through campus streaming and cub reporting for the Old Hearst Morning LA Examiner, to civil rights reporting for the San Francisco Examiner, law school, then Newsweek, Newsday, and USA Today. It was undeniably an establishment career, smack in the allegedly elitist mainstream. California launched that career and defined a good part of it. A California background, however, does not, to this day, always get due respect from the actual elites. One day, as London bureau chief for Newsweek, I was invited to a reception for the American press at number 10 Downing Street. Prime Minister Edward Heath worked the room and got to me. Shaking my hand, he asked the standard question, "And where were you posted here from, Washington or New York?" Innocently, I said, "Los Angeles." Well, the Prime Minister stiffened, his face froze in horror. He dropped his hand, he turned on his heel, he flounced away. To the Prime Minister, clearly my answer was a humiliating signal that the British Empire and its prestige had finally crumbled. My God, now the Americans were sending people to London from Disneyland. But, having just been bombed out of my Belfast hotel by the Irish Republican Army, I was working to prove that a kid from Kirkhoff belonged overseas and in Washington and in New York. And I did get to write from all of those places. Along the way, I met 9 US presidents, witnessed the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy, knew victims of the Manson family, reported from 5 continents and all 50 states. I did not get to Vietnam covering the combat. Instead, I was on the tumultuous home front, getting billy clubbed upside my head when the LAPD broke up a peaceful protest. Not much has changed in that regard, has it? But aside from missing conventional warfare, I punched just about every ticket in American print journalism. Newsweek covers stories on Hollywood, international reporting, presidential campaigns, 6 years at the White House, observing George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, major court trials, Elton John's legendary US debut at the Troubadour, the Olympics, science, religion. I rode a freight train boxcar with a bunch of grizzled hobos, and I flew on Air Force One to Rio and Tokyo. Now, I don't know how many website content providers today will be lucky enough to do all that, although I hope Daily Bruin staff in 2021 that it happens to you. The print journalism that sustained my career is in retreat, but there was no point for any of us in mourning the past as people immerse themselves in their smartphones. Instead, we had little choice but to adopt the skills of the future. As Ken Jennings said when he lost on Jeopardy to an IBM machine named Watson, I, for one, welcome our new computer overlords. Even I, since retiring, have gotten in touch with my visual side, starting a YouTube channel and posting 100 videos, mostly on world travel. Who knew what fun it is to edit video? Today, old dogs must keep learning new tricks, young dogs too. Print will always have a place, however diminished, but the journalist who cannot shoot and edit video, or even live stream a gripping story, might as well be a stuffed exhibit in the Smithsonian. In France, in 1954, 18-year-old Françoise Sagan had a huge hit with her scandalous first novel, Bonjour Tristesse, Hello Sadness. One critic approached the renowned, much older André Malraux and asked his opinion of the young newcomer. Said Malraux with a smile, "I never discuss contemporaries." Like Malraux, I think of you students here today as contemporaries. That's because we are all on the same page, I mean the same web page, in sampling journalism's new possibilities. While we have much in common, I do not expect you to ask me for advice since, wow, Dwight D. Eisenhower was president when I was here. I was a freshman in 1956, and if I were listening then to a speech in this spot by an 81-year-old graduate, the dude would have been a student back when Grover Cleveland was president, 32 years before UCLA existed. No way I think that speaker could relate to me. But if I were asked for advice today, what would I say? Kurt Vonnegut supposedly gave a commencement address that centered on this sage advice: wear sunglasses. That never really happened, but I thought hard about how I would improve on the Vonnegut myth. I would say this: if you are thinking of a career in journalism, and I hope you are, poise yourself for the twists and turns of technology. Talented as you are, don't over-specialize yet. Beware of putting your faith in my second alma mater, print. You have so many more opportunities for on-the-job learning here than in my time, so soak up every aspect of the increasingly electronic conglomerate called the Daily Bruin that your years here will allow. Print, video, still photography, design, social media, virtual reality, TikTok, whatever. Andrew Lloyd Webber never forgot a teacher who dismissed his interest in musical theater. The teacher demanded, "Why can't you just do something really useful?" Webber clapped back with a few little bits of writing like the Phantom of the Opera and Cats. And he named his company Really Useful Productions. In journalism, though, what seems really useful to you this week may be obsolete next month. So keep your definition of usefulness and your options open. I never quite hit Webber's level. No Pulitzer Prize, only a few awards, the Overseas Press Club, the American Bar Association, and even improbably Rodeo Writer of the Year from those wonderful people at Levi Strauss Blue Jeans. But I had a great time. That's because I found it really useful to inform Americans about revolutionary trends and fascinating people in politics, entertainment, and countless other fields. Most usefully of all, on this proving ground at Kirkhoff Hall, I found myself, just as you may be doing. The Daily Bruin allowed me to discover a calling and to dig the foundation of a traveler's life. I don't miss the hairy deadlines that are even crazier now with posting on Twitter every 5 minutes. But I'm glad that I served and survived mainstream journalism from the mid-20th century into the 21st, from Remington typewriters and teletypes to Apple laptops. The establishment journalism that I unabashedly represent has changed and will keep changing. Yet, despite, just possibly because of its growing diversity, American mainstream journalism is unjustly attacked as elitist today by those who fear the light it sheds. With all its flaws, I defend it against the politically malevolent. I am proud of mainstream journalism. At its best, it is frequently the best in the world. It needs you. It is well worth your aspirations, and you will have an edge with the Daily Bruin on your resume. Who knows what's over the distant horizon for journalism, whether print or digital? You, current staffers and alumni younger than I, will experience how it evolves. At least a few of you will guide the evolution, or even invent it. As long as humanity allows this suffering planet to keep living, which is by no means a sure thing, there will be news. And a story is a story. The precise manner of its presentation and absorption, not really the point. So there will be something more or less like what we think of as journalism. And there will be women and men who report and analyze the news. Despite some alarming trends, I am an optimist. And I believe that in forms we cannot even envision now, the daily Bruin will go on, nurturing generations of journalists through their youthful triumphs, excesses, and mistakes like mine. As that happens, that all of us, of all generations, all of us here, vaccinated and unvaccinated, masked and unmasked, highly resolved that we too will persist in our proper role to support, to teach and to learn from the young, to welcome the new people, the new thoughts, the new images, the new words. As journalists deploy notepads and keyboards and cameras in the last-ditch First Amendment mission to safeguard American democracy. But as we keep battling, let's not take ourselves too seriously, and let's remember to wear those sunglasses.
By the way, the students have a present for you. Oh, cool.